You who were in the first part of the session, but for those of you who are not, we welcome you. I am very pleased to welcome you to the second part of the first session of the Africa Hydrological Conference. My name is Faith Sternlieb, and I'm Associate Director for Global Engagement with a team called the Internet of Water within the Center for Geospatial Solutions at the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, whose headquarters is in Cambridge, Massachusetts, USA. Before we get started, I want to offer our sincere gratitude and appreciation to our hosts, the Egyptian Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation. We thank you. We thank AMCAO, and we thank the collaboration and cooperation between AMCAO and the World Meteorological Organization, who are hosting together this first Africa Hydrological Conference. We are honored to be a part of the partnership for the first session for this important convening of experts working on early warning systems for all. We are partnering with the first part of the session as well as this part of the session with the Permanent Joint Technical Committee for the Nile Waters, the International Center for Water Resources and Global Change, the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, the Environmental Law Institute, and the Women in Water Diplomacy Network. All protocols observed. And this partnership is a new and emerging partnership, and the work that we do together is only possible because of this partnership. So this partnership is critical, and we are looking forward to expanding it with all of you. So for this second part, part two of the policy and technical solutions for water data diplomacy and exchange, we are going to hear from technologists and policy experts who have been working at the water data front for a very long time. We're going to hear a little bit about the current state of the World Meteorological Organization Hydrologic Observation System and future plans. We're going to get an introduction to mapping water data management and exchange. And then we're going to turn to all of you, and we're going to break out into small breakout groups, and we're going to talk about a few questions that we have that we would love for you all to share your experiences, not just with us, but with each other, because that is the way that we're going to start to build trust. So just a few logistical notes. For this session is being recorded and live streamed to enable online participation, and we didn't get to hear from our online participants in the first part of the session, but we really hope that we will hear from all of you online with your questions and and any comments that and feedback you want to give us. We are very interested. French and Arabic interpretation channels are available. We have headsets in the back. Please complete the session exit poll at the close of the workshop. We really appreciate your feedback on what you think about this session, what we could do better, and how we could do it better. And all participants are encouraged to actively participate. We really will be depending on you and your experiences that you share in order to make these conversations possible, in order to move the needle on water data diplomacy. So it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Dominique Béraud, who is the head of Earth System Monitoring Division at the World Meteorological Organization. Dr. Béraud is responsible for WMO activities on monitoring and information systems on water, cryosphere, and the ocean. Before joining WMO in 2016, he was a senior expert for the water, cold regions, and disasters activity at the Intergovernmental Group on Earth Observation Secretariat. He served as the head of the Swiss National Hydrological Service. He was the president of the Swiss Commission of Hydrology and was the Regional Hydrological Advisor of the World Meteorological Organization for Europe, Middle East, and the Caucasus, where he was responsible for flood mitigation and river restoration projects, including flood forecast and warning, as well as hazard mapping. I'm also pleased to introduce Philip Zaele, has been the head of GEMS Water Data Center at the International Center for Water Resources and Global Change since its inception in 2014. He has 15 years of experience in international water data cooperation, contributes to the UNEP Global Environmental Monitoring System for Fresh Water, co-leads the Technical Advisory Committee of the World Water Quality Alliance, co-chairs the UNESCO IHP Flagship International Initiative on Water Quality, and is a member of the Group on the Earth Observations Secretariat Inland and Coastal Water Quality Initiative, AquaWatch, to promote the use of satellite-based water quality monitoring for national water quality management and international reporting. He also leads the World Meteorological Organization Task Team on WIS2 for hydrology. So with that, I'm going to welcome Dr. Dominique Bureau first, and then Philip, you can join after Dominique is finished. Thank you so much, Dominique. Please welcome Dr. Dominique Bureau.
Thank you very much, Faith, and welcome to all. Thanks for having us at this session. We discussed a lot in the previous phase on hydrological data sharing. And let me share first my conclusion, because I'll be too long, and Faith will interrupt me. So we have to change our mindset. It's as simple as that. We just cannot continue the way we have for the last 20 years. We have to change things. And the other point being that we have to reinforce our partnership to work together, because it's not a single unit, a single organization that can solve the problem. So I think it's obvious that we need more data, hydrological data, because we have huge challenges related to warning systems, related to climate adaptation, all these. It's kind of obvious for meteorology that we have to share data. And that's the core activity of WMO, to make sure that all the data are shared. You will see that we have a new official policy on data sharing. So atmosphere has no frontier, so it's obvious. For hydrology, it doesn't seem so obvious. Why should I share data as a country authority? You have seen from our UNEC colleague that at least at the transboundary level, you have to ensure the good relations, to ensure the global understanding of what's happening at the catchment level, having no frontier among many countries. But you can think as well at the global level, because climate change is water change, and this happens at the global level. If you really want to understand what's happened in your country, you have to understand what's happened at the global level. So I think it's key to rethink the way we are considering hydrological data. It's not just water level or discharge. It's water quality, it's groundwater, it's soil moisture, precipitation, evaporation. We have to think very globally for that, and then to have that global understanding. So sharing data is not only for the purpose of a country, it's for the region, it's for the basin, and it's for the global as well. And if you think on climate, you have those three global cycles: carbon cycle, energy cycle, and the water cycle. They all combine. If you think of temperature, you think of evaporation, it's all combined. So we need that global understanding, and that's a change in our mindset. So for sharing data, what do we need? Data. I come back to the question from Mohamed Hussaini, the regional hydro advisor from the African region for WMO. It's not so obvious to have data. We need new incentives, new ways of collecting data, new ways of showing the benefit of those data to the decision makers, to ministers, and we have to do that. WMO is very active, as it was said in the first phase, for instance, for working on the WICOS, the World Hydrological Cycle Observing System. We're working as well with partners, but we have to know that we need funds to do this and to launch one project. And the most promising one we have so far in Africa is around the Lake Chad Basin. We need 2 to 3 years just to get the funds. For a 5 years project, we need 3 years of preparation. That cannot fly. We need to change the way we are approaching the whole funding of this, because it's urgent. We cannot wait 5 years to start a project and then to start again. And for getting the data, to share the data, we need, of course, financial resources, but as well human resources. We need knowledge, we need experts, we need people well educated in hydrology monitoring, that are involved in the country, and stay in the country because they enjoy what they want. So that's the whole mindset we have to change as well. Of course, we need policy for sharing data, for making sure that we have sustainable monitoring system. We need as well, we have the global policy, you will see that later, but we need at the national level a new think of the water sharing, data sharing policy, including the financial aspect. That's the thing to think about together. Yes, technical solutions. I dare to tell that we have most of them. WMO has the WMO information system as a whole, including the WMO hydrological observing system, which is the contribution to this global system to allow to share data easily, to find where the data are, to share them easily. So I would say the technical solution is there. WMO has 4 official global data centers, the Global Runoff Data Center, the Global Precipitation and Climate Center, both hosted by Germany. We have the International Groundwater Assessment Center based in Delft, together with our colleague from UNESCO. And we have the Hydrological Lake and Reservoir Center based in St. Petersburg, Russian Federation. So we have that support. We have the technical solutions. We simply have to implement those. Simply being, we need resources. So nothing is simple, but I dare to tell that the technical point is not the most tricky one. It's about the mindset, it's about to find a way for ensuring that funding. And that my last point here is about to get incentives, meaning we have to show the benefit of sharing data, meaning to show the cost benefit of those kind of operations. And they is huge, but it's not formalized. So and that's the thing where WMO is active as well. That's a part of our innovative approach for hydrological monitoring on technical solution, but as well on policy and as well on communication. So we're working on that together, having ministerial conferences with the ministries of finances, for instance. And one of the first will be in South Sudan, by the way. So that's the overall view on what WMO is doing in terms of data policy. We have since 2021 the unified data policy for all data from WMO. So meteorology, of course, but as well climate, hydrology, chorosphere, ocean, on their core data that countries have to share. It's for saving lives, it's for warning systems, it's for forecast systems. And there are recommended data that countries are invited to share because it allows to better understand the system, the climate conditions, and so on and so forth. And then WMO established as well a global basic observing networks, starting with meteorology, and we're working hard together, by the way, with a group led by co-led by Pauline Mufeti, who is in the room, I think. Hi, Pauline, from Namibia. And the unified data policy is on implementing as well for hydrology, and this is co-led by Bienvenue Dinga from Congo, who is also in the room. So thank you for both of you for your commitment on that, because it's important to have that level for hydrology, to get the data, to share the data, and to think at the global level. And what's needed then is the funding. And when I tell funding, it's not just for investment, it's as well for the operation maintenance of the stations, and that's a critical point. In every single project you hear about hydrology, the point being there is no sustainability. As soon as the project comes to an end, all the achievements come to an end. We have to change that. That's, again, a change of mindset. And my last point being that to do so, we need ideas, we need funding, and we need partners. So I'm so happy that WMO is reinforcing our partnerships with AMCO, with UNEP as well, with many different partners, and as well newly with the Lincoln Institute and this kind of consortium. We need to rethink that. We need to think not only at the governmental, intergovernmental level, but as well at the private-public sectors. That will be the key. And now another partner is, of course, I mentioned the global centers. There is that German Institute for Water Resource and Climate, and that's my segue to Philippe for the next presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dom. Thanks, Faye, for the warm welcoming words. Thank you all, and also a warm welcome from my end. And after Dom has now talked a bit more about the high-level policy and structural components of data sharing at WMO, I will have a closer look a bit at the technical side of things. But before going there, I would first like to make the case again for why we need data sharing with a small example from my day-to-day work, which is not with WMO, but with the UNEP Global Environment Monitoring System for Freshwater. And Dr. Tahani, in the previous session, she made the case that data, having data, collecting data for the purpose of just having it doesn't make any sense. It's about producing something with the data towards informing decision making. And this example here is about SDG monitoring and reporting. We had this in the previous discussion. We all know it's quite hard. And among the different SDG targets, there's one that deals with water quality, with the ambition to improve water quality globally by 2030. And we all know this is quite hard. Since 2015, the program I contribute to has been in charge of the global monitoring and reporting of an indicator that tracks progress towards improving water quality globally. I won't go into the details, but basically every 3 years we ask countries to take all their water quality monitoring data to assess the freshwater bodies in their country. And on the left-hand side here, you would see a map with the result from last year. So 120 countries globally contributed. And I won't go into the details, but rather want to have a look at what's behind this reporting data. And on the right-hand side here, you see a graph. We looked at how much data was actually used in the different countries, depending on their financial capacity in a sense. So on the left-hand side, you see the poorer half of the world with very little data contributing, and the majority, over 97%, of the data was coming from the richer countries. Now you say, okay, no surprise, right? There's more capacity in there. But the question is, how do we get around there? We have these financial limitations, but there are smarter ways of doing more with less resources. So our approach here is, apart from really the technical side, also working, and this is key here, through engagement, through collaboration on the ground. And especially in Africa, we had realized that there's a big demand on the one hand, extending monitoring, but also the data management capacities. So back some couple of years ago, we started a small pilot in Sierra Leone, where we engaged both with the governmental agency and also with non-governmental stakeholders, local communities on the ground, to build a citizen science monitoring program to augment the national monitoring program. And this has, over the course of a couple of years, increased and is now taking place in more and more countries in Africa. We are now expanding to Zambia, Malawi, Tanzania, Kenya, in the future also to Ethiopia and South Africa. The key point here, the key takeaway is it's people on the ground engaging, and the other one is, and this is now going a bit more to the technical side of things, we provide tools for the users at the agencies, but also the citizen science to collect the data through their smartphones when they go out, but then also to share it. So all people have equal access to the data, but they can decide on how they want to share it. Okay, with this being said, I now turn over to switch my hat to the WMO role that I'm also having, and I want to talk quickly about how do we deal with data sharing at the global level on a technical side. So generally, and this is kind of an abstraction, on the one hand, we have data providers, data producers with all kinds of hydrological data, could be meteorological data, water quality data, as I've just shown, but also all kinds of other data. More recently, it could be remote sensing. And these come all in different formats, different ways, we all know that. Then on the right-hand side, we have these different users, and they have different needs depending on their requirements. So the question is, how do we bridge this? And I think 8 years ago or so, WMO started developing its hydrological observing system, short HOOS, to bridge this gap between, on the one hand side, data providers and the heterogeneity of data with end users' needs. And that works through some, I would say, smart technology using brokering. So you can think of it like Google Translate for data, right? The user on the right-hand side wants to have data XYZ for its application. So he searches for it, and the system is smart enough to translate disparate data into one thing. I don't want to go here into the technical detail. There's a lot of research that went into that, but the key here is also working towards standardizing data and also enabling countries to publish their data through the internet. So what you see here is basically the current status of the data that's being connected to this distributed system on the world map. All these colored dots are basically stations that you see. And so there are right now only 21 data providers globally, but we're working hard to increase that through engagement and so on. But as you can see, Africa is pretty bleak here yet, and this is why we are here today to discuss with you how to improve this. And one of the key things, there was one here. One of the key experiences from my daily work with partners on the ground is really they often lack the tools to manage their data properly. So this is why we partner with colleagues in the US to develop an open source platform that we can develop together with our partners on the ground to manage their data, be it water quantity data, water quality data, and then share that to the level they want to share it. Not necessarily openly, but to communities they want to interact with. And with this, I'd like to stop here and hand over back to Faith. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to Philip and Dominique for setting the stage, for just kind of talking about some specific examples about what WMO is doing, how they're working on the ground, and how they're working, shall we say, in the air, in the cloud. Excuse me. Excuse me, in the cloud. So we're moving on to our the next part of the session. I would love to introduce Dr. Stefan Dietrich, who is the Deputy Director at the International Center for Water Resources and Global Change, a UNESCO center hosted by the German Federal Institute of Hydrology. He specializes in climate observations with a focus on water data and hydrologic data services. He coordinates the Global Terrestrial Network Hydrology under WMO and the Global Climate Observing System to promote collaboration between the different global water data centers. He co-chairs Eurofriend Water, a UNESCO IHP international flagship initiative, and he is also coordinating author of Closing the Water Cycle from Observations Across Scale. Where do we stand? Dr. Stefan Dietrich, he's going to give a short introduction to the engagement exercise, and then we will talk to you about what we expect from you for the engagement. So with that, Dr. Stefan.
Thank you, Faye, so much for the opening. My name, and welcome to you. I need this height here. Okay, now you can understand me better. So Faith, again, many thanks for this kind introduction, and I'm really glad that we have this full room, and we are now coming to an engagement with you, so we really want to learn from you. Let's start a little bit with the why. So why we are doing that. That is now a slide from the WMO report on the global state of the water resources, which was published 2 weeks ago right now, so it's really fresh out of the press. And what we see here, those are the river discharge in categories. In orange means it's below the normal value, so below the standard value. And if you look at the last 5 years, we have an increase in low flow conditions worldwide. And if you look at the last year, 2023, then it's really increasing. That is now global comparison, let's say, but I think that is something where we see worldwide. And if you go to this report, you will see also for your country and for your region how the situation is. So if you look then, that is what also Dominique Perrault and Philippe Seiler has said. If you look now on the map of global data exchange, and global is one scaling up of what you need for, let's say, for regional transboundary data exchange of taking care. But if we speak in terms of climate, of course, we only have one Earth, we have one climate system, and we have all the cycles which are connected with each other. And we have a lot of blue dots, and blue dots on that map means we have roughly new data. Red dot means the latest international data exchange on WMO capacities is dating back to the 1980s. So it's 40 years old data which are available to what do we do with the data? They're going into systems like early warning systems for calibration and validation. They're going into validating satellite products. I mean, mostly also in hydrology, satellite is coming in. But for that, to improve that systems, also for your country, it's important to have fresh data exchanged. On the right-hand side, you see a water cycle, and we have the data centers for all these different compartments of the data centers, but this picture looks really similar for all the data centers. So we start this engagement now also that you might to rethink a little bit how this is done. Most of you are working on water, on hydrology, meaning the water drops, the precipitation is fallen to the land, to the earth, and is then going into different processes. What I want to show you here, that is a picture from a publication from last year, which they called it the atmospheric watersheds. And what you see here in particular is that also within a continent you are demanding of the water which is precipitated in your country, which is evaporated in another country. So we have also these regional circles of water. And that is really interesting also to observe and also here to exchange the data. For instance, if you do some land use change, some cutting down of forests, for instance, then you change and alter the evaporation signal, and that has an impact on precipitation in another place of that continent or another part in the world. And with that, I would like to engage with you together with Faith, and we will come now to some discussion. I will also give some handouts, so I will go around, but Faith, I will think you will give, thank you, Faith, you will give the introduction to the slides, to the questions.
All right, now comes the fun part. This is where we come together. We have a few questions for you. We have a kind of brief, it's just a 30-minute exercise, so it's not that long. We'll work in small groups to share our experiences and perspectives on water data diplomacy. So it's a little bit of a test, and it's a lot of sharing. We have some discussion questions for you, and I will read them so that we can get the translators translating. We only have this the discussion question slide in English, so I will read them for the translators. And yes, you all can take pictures because you will need to reference this in your small groups. So your first question, okay. We do have printouts in different languages, I was told, so at least we have that as well. Based on your experience, what are the information needs at different scales? So country to country to catchment to global, and for which applications? What are the information needs for different applications? So examples, for example, are observational data, aggregated or indicator based on observations. The second question is, which data sharing efforts respond to those needs that you know of, or that you have experience with, or that you have heard of? So this is based on your personal experience in your work and what you do. The third question is, what types of diplomatic processes and tools can be leveraged to support improved information sharing? In your opinion, we literally want your opinion here and your perspective and based on your experience. So here's some guidance for you. What we're going to do is, actually, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands. Who here speaks Arabic? Okay, excellent. Who speaks French? You two are going to be in a group of your own. You're going to, and then English? The majority of English. Okay, so what we're going to do is, it looks like, what's that? Okay, yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to, for those of you who speak Arabic, it looks like the majority of you at least are on the back right. My right, not yours. So the back right. If you want to take a table and some chairs, if you need additional chairs, we can bring them for you. So Arabic on the back right, and then it looks like the rest of you can stay where you are, because the rest of you hopefully will speak English, and you can talk with each other at your tables. And we will have facilitators join you. So there will be one facilitator per group. And what we would like you to do is go through each question and take notes on what is discussed. And the facilitator will help you do that. We're going to ask you to, in your group right away, to please choose one rapporteur who will report back to the larger group. We're going to stay in these small, at your tables, so many of you will not move, but for those of you who do move, we'll sit and discuss for 20 minutes. And in the last 5 minutes, you're going to choose your top 2 answers for each question, so the rapporteur can share with the whole group. Do you have more? And Jessica is going to share additional details with you.
On va avoir aussi une table française pour les francophones. Where would you like to sit? Comlan? Avec Comlan, là-bas?
And Dominique.
Et Dominique, oui. Okay, so we will also have a French-speaking table for our francophone participants, as well as Jessie is circulating, you want to raise your hand, is circulating sheets of paper with the questions in the various languages. And then we have 2 options for taking notes. There is a QR code right here. And if a rapporteur would like to just take the QR code, it will lead you to a Google Doc that you can just fill in online. You do need to be online for that. We also have blank sheets of paper with the questions on them, and you can just take hand notes if you prefer. So you should have all the documentation you need to make this easy, and hopefully if you have any questions, just stop one of us and we'll help you.
And we will be identifying the facilitators for each of the tables. So we really appreciate your participation discussing these questions, and we're really excited to hear what you have discussed at the end of the discussion in 20 or so minutes. Thank you so much. For the online participants, please think about these questions. I'm going to put them back up here. Please think about the questions, and we would love to get your responses online. So feel free to add your responses in the chat. All right, let's get talking. These very kind of interpersonal conversations about data, about water data. This is like a dream come true for me that you all are sitting at your tables. I really hope you're talking about water data and sharing your experiences. We're going to have a colleague that is going to go from table to table, asking you to report out your responses to the questions. We asked you to identify your top 2 responses per question, but for the sake of time and how many tables there are, we're going to ask you just to identify your top 1 priority response for each question. So if you could please identify, if your rapporteur could get ready. And Washington Otieno with WMO, thank you so much, Washington, for, we do really need to thank Washington Otieno with the World Meteorological Organization for organizing the Africa Hydrological Conference. Yes, 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 let's clap, yay. And so that was your introduction, Washington. So he's going to go table to table, asking the rapporteur to report out on your conversations. Washington. If you could please introduce yourself, the rapporteur, and then your responses.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a table that worked in English, and we started discussing these questions from a standpoint that what do we need the data for? What do we need the information for? And generally, we looked at the general aspects, such as management of water resources, but also planning for the present and future utilization of the water resource. And so then we looked at the information that we need, and information that we need as a community of users, global users of the water resource. And we're looking at the data that we need, and we started with the hydrometeorological related data. And here we looked at precipitation, temperature, soil moisture. For those that are meteorological related, the question would be the scale at which we need these variables. And the idea here was that for precipitation and temperature, we need the highest resolution possible, because it's not just used for, one or two purposes. It's used for our other uses, including early warning. And then we also talked about, again, looking at the scale at which we need this information. We focused on the country scale, and we agreed that at country scale, we need, for example, the water demand that's driven by the population dynamics. We talked about the water quality. For every country, we need the data on the quality of water. And that might be not just on a national scale, but can also be at a smaller scale, including just a city or a district, depending on the geographical dynamics in various countries. Now, picking back on the hydrometeorological data, we also discussed about the fact that we need data on the river discharges, for example, on the river levels and the levels in fresh water sources. And that's because in some cases we have these transboundary issues, and we had an example of Namibia whereby the data they need is from the upstream stakeholder. And then we talked about information that we need on the country scale is the land use and the land cover. And ideally, this would stretch as far as having an understanding on the fraction of the land that is used for different purposes, because all that falls back into how we use and how we manage the water resource. And then when it came to discussing the data sharing efforts to respond to those needs, we looked at the effort of thinking about the data and information that can be universally understood. That if I pick this data from the neighboring country, am I able to understand it? Am I able to put it to the right use? And then we also talked about the timeliness of sharing this data. Does the data come through in a timely manner? Am I able to access it when I need it? And also we talked about, engaging stakeholders, particularly those upstream. And again, we had an example from Namibia where they have to engage in this kind of discussion. And then there was a point of, looking at these efforts of sharing this data, thinking about the type and the resolution of the data that we need in the view of the changing climate. That there are kinds and the types of data that we have not thought about in the view of climate change. Are we thinking about those questions? Are we taking time to look at those aspects? I want to summarize. Do I have a second or two? Okay, okay. So the last one was that, you know, we have got to enhance the efforts of sharing this data, particularly in institutions that are already doing it, such as WMO. We have several points. We can share these with the organizer. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Okay, less than 2 minutes. Okay, concerning data needed, we need climate and hydrological data as well as water quality data. Also, we need the watershed characteristics for the basins. We need also the existing development and future development as well. And also we need information about the storage facilities and regulation rules, all these things. Concerning data sharing, participating in to the regional and international organization, this is very important. Bilateral technical and scientific committees, that also will facilitate the issue. Exchange of programs between universities and even between ministries. For diplomatic process, we need first building of trust, to go to data sharing protocols. Also, we need the involvement of non-governmental entities to create a data sharing platform, particularly geospatial system and early warning systems. Thank you very much.
hello, hello. Just for the next speakers, we really appreciate you taking your time to share with us your experiences. We're hoping everyone can kind of sum up in 2 minutes so that we can wrap up this session. But we really want to hear your experience, and we will be asking you to please put your notes on the table outside the door when you leave. So be my guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will try to be as short as possible. I think we had a very fruitful discussion within our group. We had people from different places. Think about South Sudan, Uganda, Germany, and myself from the Netherlands. And yeah, we agreed that you need data to make political decisions. But in general, countries don't like to share data if you just share it in as a blanket way. You need a purpose. So that is very important, and you can do that. With platforms where you have trust. And we also had a discussion about what type of data you need, and you need real-time data for early warning systems, but also operational data. But sometimes, if the transboundary cooperation is still a bit difficult, you should also think about what is the minimum data to share. And it's also important to look at defining data more broadly, because we are used to see data as very technical, but data is way broader than that. Think about capacity building, think about indigenous knowledge. So yeah, what are the sources of data, and how can we include more data? Furthermore, we also talked about that it's if you want to start with sharing data, you need implemental projects to build trust. Think about technical sharing of information, and then we only had a couple of minutes left to talk about specific tools. And there are some colleagues talked about that there are some problems with maintaining the systems and how do you exactly build trust, that there is sometimes some fragmentation of institutions that it would be good to join together. And the last thing that I would like to say is that it would also be very important to calibrate global data for a local level. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We are not, unfortunately, going to be able to hear from every table. We were not anticipating so many participants. And so if you're, please raise your hand, the rapporteur for the tables we haven't spoken with yet, if you're dying to share. Oh, look at that. we've got a taker. All right, if you could keep your comments to 2 minutes, we would so appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you everyone for your participation. In our group, we were privileged to have Stefan here facilitate, and we had diverse views from Egypt, Nigeria, Niger, Sudan. And so for the first question on the needs, the information needs, we looked at observation data to bring out the gaps, that the countries need to work on. And then with regards to the catchments, it came out clearly that rainfall data was necessary, soil moisture, and discharge. And then in addition to this, we observed that there were gaps in quality. Water quality data is not readily available. And that NMHSs, or hydrological services, will require more funding to optimize the observation infrastructure to be able to even gather observation data for sharing. With regards to the applications, the different applications, we talked about platforms for observation data, and then it was also noted that modern equipment is required to make observation easier, aggregated data to support forecasting for floods and droughts, and also flood risk modeling that can contribute to collaboration between transboundary countries. Egypt noted that they have a flood risk models that countries within the Nile Basin contribute to, and we saw the benefits of this. And we also saw that regional collaboration platforms can enhance support to weaker countries, even within the transboundary basins. For instance, the agreements that exist in the Niger Basin came up, and it was said that these kinds of agreements can enhance collaboration between transboundary countries, and that members should be more proactive in voicing out their concerns when they attend international meetings and regional meetings. And then with regards to diplomatic processes, we talked about leveraging on regional platforms to support resource mobilization and capacity. I mentioned that earlier too. And then linkages should be created at national level between observation institutions to be able to integrate observation data and make it available for sharing internationally within the transboundary basins. And then we talked about improved access to satellite data to support hydrological data. WMO noted that they support in setting standards, but we felt that regional collaboration and then advocacy can improve access to satellites to support hydrological data. So I think these are the few points we have from our group. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. That's spectacular. A+. We would love to hear, we've got, yes, excellent. Thank you. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes. We really appreciate it, but we will be collecting all of the responses and summarizing them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe I can also not share everything, but share an interesting point that we discussed about the data sharing efforts. That most of the people on the table, I think, they are Egyptians and they are speaking in Arabic. So they shared like the importance of the perspective of data sharing in African countries. That specifically when we are asked for data sharing, maybe the first question that can come in mind, what is the benefit that I will get as an institute for sharing this data? So maybe there is a need for a mindset shift for the need of a transparent data and like data sharing concepts within the African countries. And there is a need also for transparency when data is being shared, and that we make sure that it is in a timely manner. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. So important. What is the incentive for sharing? We have to discuss. Yeah.
I propose actually to work on this title, Access Water Data for Benefit Sharing. Access Water Data for Benefit Sharing.
Beautiful. I couldn't have said that better. Thank you. We have one more minute for this group. I'm going to translate.
السلام عليكم. بالنسبة للسؤال الأول، ما هي الاحتياجات المعلوماتية على مستوى القطاعات والدول والمستجمعات المائية؟
Okay, for the first question about the experience and what are the information needed at different scales, country to catchment to globally scale.
أولاً مطلوب بيانات بالأهداف الوطنية التي تؤدي إلى تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. ثانياً بيانات عن كمية ونوعية المياه السطحية والجوفية وندرة المياه ونصيب الفرد من كل دولة، وتقديم الخدمات بما في ذلك بيانات مرافق المياه والري والبنية التحتية كمرافق المياه والصرف الصحي.
So requested for the data with related to the global aims, which will result in achieving the national sustainable goals, and also some data about the quality and quantity of fresh water and groundwater and water scarcity, and also offering services related to data about the water, irrigation, and infrastructure, and also some data related to the challenges and how the infrastructures and water infrastructure could help in some extreme events like floods and droughts. And also we have paid attention to decision makers and how could assist them to help in like making a framework or something for this scale, for the scale of country scale. And related to, we can go to the last one about the diplomatic process and tools can be leveraged to support improved information sharing. We have to make protocol, a collaboration protocol, and a strategy for data exchange between countries, and also some rules and some what is this? Sorry.
تبادل معلومات بين الدول وبعضها في حالة رفض دول منهم بتسن قوانين ملزمة للدول بالتبادل المعلومات.
Yes, some rules to force countries to share data information and some data for hydrology and related water sector. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this working? Yes. Thank you so very much. You all really important points. We hear definitely, you know, there are some main themes that are coming out, right? And which is important because those really need to rise to the highest priorities, these main themes. We have one more table to hear from, and then we're going to hear some concluding remarks. We appreciate your patience and your flexibility with this fun, engaging session. Who will speak? Excellent.
Yeah, in French, please. Thank you. In French, please, yes. Voilà, pour la première question. Voilà. Yeah, we have all of, please. Alors, je disais, améliorer la qualité et la quantité des données et assurer la qualité des courbes d'étalonnage pour avoir des données précises, pour faciliter aussi ce qu'on appelle l'acquisition en temps réel des données, pour assurer aussi ce qu'on appelle les prévisions fiables. Concernant la question numéro 2, il nous faut donc l'implémentation rapide du modèle de politique de partage de données unifiée de l'OMM. Besoin de renforcer les États pour assurer leur devoir régalien de suivi des stations hydrologiques. Pour la question 3, de renforcer ou créer le rôle des organismes de bassin sur demande des États. Ça, c'est une bonne précision. Nous devons capitaliser la Convention sur l'eau de 1992 pour le développement des cadres cohérents de suivi des ressources. Nous devons capitaliser le processus de l'AMCAO et les commissions économiques régionales pour valoriser les cadres institutionnels et de partage.
Okay, I will quickly summarize. So the first question is, generally speaking, beyond all what has been said, is to improve the quantity and the quality of all the data, including the rating curve for getting from the water level to the discharge, and then a specific point on the real-time data for forecast systems. I would like to add, only for English, we need as well the knowledge of the whole hydrograph and the regime on the long term. That's key. On the second question, it was about implementing the WMO Unified Data Policy and to support the countries for their official monitoring systems. And on the third question, it's to reinforce basin organization or to build new one as needed, as requested from the country. So the country stays the one who take the decision. And then to increase as well the connection support to AMCAO, UNEC for the Water Convention, and all the regional economical organizations. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Is this working? Yes. Thank you so very much, everyone, for your, you really did kind of knock, as we say in the US, knock it out of the park. Is there anyone, baseball fans here? It's a very US pastime. But I'm just so impressed and pleased and really appreciative for your participation, for your thoughtfulness, and for sharing your experiences with us. So it's my honor to present to you Dr. Arif Gharib, who is highly experienced in water resources and irrigation engineer with over 32 years of experience in integrated water resources planning and management. His expertise spans project management, supervision, and implementation of water resource policies, including surface and groundwater management, flood control, and rainwater harvesting. He holds a PhD in water resources management from Cairo University, a master's degree from Lüneburg University in Germany, and a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Cairo University. So please give Dr. Gharib a very warm welcome for our closing remarks.
Thank you all for the insightful discussion and the rich exchange of data and ideas through this session, as we have explored the role of data diplomacy and data exchange is critical, especially in today's interconnected world, where the management of water resources transcends borders. Today, we have gained valuable insights into the importance of data diplomacy in making data exchange more accessible and comprehensive. However, we also face significant challenges, particularly in building trust, enhancing data collection, and ensuring effective data implementation. I would like to highlight a few key messages from our discussions today. Data exchange is essential for building trust among stakeholders at all levels. While data scarcity remains a concern, an equally important issue is the need for political will to effectively monitor, manage, and share information. Creating an enabling environment is critical, which includes organizational platforms, coordination among partners, addressing various aspects of data collection, management, and dissemination, and the establishment of comprehensive data sharing agreements to ensure transparency and accountability. River Basin organizations, regional bodies such as WMO play a pivotal role in filling data gaps, providing standards, and offering capacity building support. It is crucial to recognize the role of local communities in providing valuable data and perspective, as well as the importance of translating this data into actionable insights on the ground to enhance resilience and inform decision-making. Furthermore, fostering two-way communication between communities and water management bodies is essential. Breaking down barriers within the water sector and across related sectors is vital to ensure that all relevant information is coherent, available, and informs decision-making at all levels. The path forward lies in partnerships at every scale, from the community level to multinational collaborations, to leverage existing data, promote further data collection and sharing, and contribute to diplomatic process. In conclusion, the power of data diplomacy lies in its ability to transform potential conflicts into opportunities for collaboration. By using diplomacy to guide our data sharing efforts, we ensure that everyone has a seat at the table and that we collectively contribute to sustainable water management. Let us seize this moment to strengthen our partnership and to continue building a future where data exchange fosters cooperation, resilience, and sustainability across Africa and beyond. Thank you.
So we hope that you learned something, that you made a friend, and that you will continue to work with us going forward. We appreciate you, your experience, your expertise, and your friendship. Thank you so much. And this is the exit poll. If you could please take a photo of the QR code and give us your feedback for the session. We also very much want your notes from the discussions. Please leave them outside on the table before you leave.